Welcome back to another weather forecast update, guys. And right now you're looking at a major winter storm ongoing for much of the south, but the snow extends all the way into Michigan. So a good chunk of the country getting in on this. And we're going to be looking at where this thing goes from here. And the weather that follows is going to be very winter-like. Of course, if you have any questions about the forecast where you live, you can always drop them in the comments. We do personal forecasts here. And let's jump in and look ahead. We continue to track our storm as it moves to the east, and you'll see as we head into the weekend, snow continues to fall across portions of the mid-Atlantic, Midwest, reaching the northeast, although you'll also see that this snow dries out a lot in the northeast. The main system is going to pass out to sea, so it leaves areas like New England and most of the mid-Atlantic relatively snowless. There will be light snow, but really nothing beyond that. And once it's out, we see weather quiet down for the most part across the U.S. I will say, though, if you're in the north central, we're going to be watching a few clipper systems that come through and bring some light snow. These clipper systems coming out of Canada, they bring a lot of dry air too, so you're not able to get that much snowfall, but there will certainly be some as we get into the weekend and into the start of next week as well. We move this forward. What we're really seeing here, and it may be tough to see, so I'm going to point it out for you, is we got these blue circles sort of forming here on our map. You see those? That's a very cold air mass dropping in at the upper levels, which we'll take a closer look at soon. But no, even though it looks dry as we start off next week, it is not going to be necessarily quiet weather-wise, as those temperatures are going to be far below what we typically see even in midwinter. But I'll give this a little more a push forward, and what you're going to notice as we head into the later days of next week is we're settling into this dry pattern across a good chunk of the U.S. here. But we'll continue to see clipper systems come down, likely impacting the northern tier of the U.S. with some light snow. But how much snow is going to fall as we get into next week, or later this weekend, I should say. And I want to show you the lakes and the northeast where there may be some light snow. And as we move this forward, again, this is the remainder of snow from our storm. You're seeing something on the order of around an inch at most in portions of northern New England. Could be 2 inches in some of those highest elevations. Southern New England could see a coating up to an inch. That inch total will be very isolated though. And lakes will add on some extra snow here, something on the order of as much as 3 to 6 inches in spots. There will be some lake effect snow that gets going, but as a whole, this is going to be a lighter snowfall. In the middle of next week, we have another chance for some lake effect snowfall, which could bump these totals up. And at that point, you'd be looking at stuff on the order of 6 to 12, all things added in there from this weekend to the start of next week. So we're keeping an eye on that out there, but as a whole, the snow not a huge deal as we move forward, but the cold is a much bigger story. So let's get into that and talk about how low the temps are going to go. So we have a weather pattern that's beginning to unfold that will unleash some extreme cold across the United States, although that is going to come a little bit later in the month, and between now and then, we'll see a more active pattern that we haven't really got into recently, and I'll show you what we're looking at in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. So let's take a look at what we have on our weather model here. And what you're seeing are ridges and troughs. Anywhere you're seeing those orange colors, those are temperatures that are warm through the atmosphere. And these blue colors, those are areas that are colder through the atmosphere. And when you have this wavy pattern like this, typically your weather is more active, as that means your jet streams kind of going up and down a lot. And that's part of the reason that we're getting a storm right now. And we will be seeing some more opportunities at snow this week. But as we move this forward, you're going to see, again, no real strong signal, nothing that really locks in as we get through the middle of the month here. This is now into Thursday and Friday. But what we begin to see take hold is this feature out here. We get a ridge, warmer temperatures out near Alaska, and this is a really big deal, especially because it's going to lock in and stick around. We call this negative East Pacific Oscillation, negative EPO. And what this means is that colder air, instead of coming out of the west, you get some cool weather that comes off the Pacific. It instead is going to come straight out of the Arctic, straight from the source. And that means we're talking about some potentially extreme cold as we get later into the month here. So watch how this pattern unfolds. You're going to want to watch this ridge out by Canada because it's going to lock in and stick around. And you're really going to see some of those blue colors take over in the United States, signifying some of those colder air masses. So here we are as we get into the next weekend. So this is now the 18th, 19th, and as we get into the week following, we can take a look this far out at our upper pattern and get an idea of what temperatures are going to be like. And like I said, you can see pretty clearly that negative EPO and the much colder weather across possibly the entire United States. This would also likely favor a storm track too that's pretty active in the country, maybe pretty far south once again. So I would expect winter weather to perhaps just be getting started based on what we're seeing this week. Now I'm going to switch us to another map here. We're going to take a look at some of the temperature anomalies, as we say, a little bit closer to the ground. This is still a look at our air masses, but in the lower levels gives us an idea of what it might be like at the surface. And again, anywhere you're seeing those blue colors, that's colder than average. Here we are through the week. This is the upcoming weekend. Will be generally colder across the entire country this weekend. But what you're going to notice are some of these air masses dropping straight out of Canada. That's going to replenish any of this cold air. And as we were talking about before, this is that cold air mass I was referencing. And if you're in the south, if you're in the west, even if you're in the east, if you're really anywhere, it's going to be cold as we get into the start of next week. So here's your Monday, and there's that air mass sinking into the country. Really nowhere that's even mild right now. But this is really going to settle in once again across the southeastern U.S., at least for a period of time in the middle of the week, though that will be more transitory, and we are going to get some waves of warmth, at least to thaw us out later this upcoming week. But I'll give you a sneak peek too at that, what that EPO is going to do. And here we are the following week. Now this is Monday the 20th into Tuesday the 21st, so early the following week. And a signal this strong, I mean, you're seeing those dark blue and purple colors basically countrywide. A signal this strong, this far out for cold is very noteworthy. So that tells us that we're looking at what will be, again, the potential for some extreme cold in spots. I can also give you a quick preview of some of the actual temperatures we're going to see out there. This is our European model. I've liked the numbers it's spitting out best. Move this into the weekend. These are some of your Saturday morning lows, and you'll notice in some spots that we have snow on the ground, especially across the south out here. You know, those 20s get pretty far south. We'll be looking at teens into Missouri. In fact, temperatures in the single digits in the north central U.S. We may have some single digits in the high terrain in the northeast, and even the west is going to be quite cool. That's 40s through all of California, 30s onto the west coast near Portland and Seattle. Move this into Sunday. You're seeing temperatures do rebound on Saturday, by the way, but not a lot. Anywhere you're seeing those blue colors, those are temperatures below 32. So highs may be in the 30s and even 20s in parts of Georgia as we get through the beginning of the weekend here. Now, as we move into Sunday, you see that cold weather really take over. We're talking about temperatures that may get into the 20s through a portion of Florida. We're talking about some cold weather in the mountains in the west and very cold weather beginning to come in the north central. Northern tier of the U.S. is just generally going to be cold, but it's easier to get that cold, by the way, farther south, especially considering that you're going to have snowpack, and that snowpack really modifies temperatures a lot. So we're going to have cold weather penetrate pretty far south here. So Sunday high temperatures also going to remain on the colder side. A little bit of a rebound from Saturday, but these may be high temperatures that are getting barely into the single digits in the north central U.S. And as we get into this week, you're going to see that cold weather continue to hang on. Temperatures as much as 10 degrees below zero in the north central U.S. And the U.S. as a whole will just be cold in general to begin the week here. We'll move this forward, and you can see that really cold air mass in the north central. I mean, we're talking about highs that may be below zero in portions of the country out there, and highs that may stay in the single digits even into the Midwest, south of places like Chicago and Detroit. So this cold is a big deal, and it is going to be here to stick around at least for a good chunk of this week. So especially if you're in the north central U.S., if you're in the Midwest, I mean, even to Wednesday, we're looking at high temperatures that'll be in the teens. So that is where we need to be tracking some of the impactful cold weather. And as we get into the later weekend, the weekend ahead, we're going to see this cold weather shift a bit. It won't be as concentrated in the Midwest, but it is going to stick around for some time. So we're certainly looking at a chilly weekend, a chilly start and middle of this upcoming week. And though that cold is going to shift, winter is going to be really locking in after we get through this week and get towards the end of the month. We'll wrap up our video here. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe, drop a comment where you're watching from, and of course we'll have more weather updates as we get into the weekend, and especially as we track this cold. And I am interested to see how active our pattern gets towards the end of January, because it may be very conductive to snow. So stay tuned. We'll keep you updated with the latest, and we'll see you next time.